So it has been about 2.5 to 3 weeks since Jujutsu Kaisen has reached its conclusion. And obviously, as I'm sure a lot of you know, there's a lot of controversy when it came to the conclusion of Jujutsu Kaisen. A lot of people felt like there was a lot of things that were left on the cutting room floor. A lot of people didn't believe that this was actually the end of Jujutsu Kaisen. A lot of people thought that there was going to be a part 2. And Gege really didn't help with this, considering we got all this very peculiar simple domain lore 3 chapters before the story was supposed to close out. I don't know what he was cooking with this. I did not like what was on the stove. But for today's video, I wanted to sit down, I wanted to focus on Jujutsu Kaisen's final arc, specifically Shinjuku Showdown, and I wanted to just sit and ponder, was it actually a landing that Gege managed to stick, or was it ultimately a fumble? Real quick, guys, before we get too deep into this video, please make sure you leave a like and subscribe. We are on our way to 50,000 subscribers, and I would love to have you around. You seem like you're a good person, you seem like you give good hugs, and you seem like you smell nice. So we definitely need more of you in here, considering that 95% of my fan base is men. Bro, it stinks in here. Please help me. All right, without further ado, let's get into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a special announcement. I have a very special announcement. Did you see this? I have merch. Yes, I have merch. I have merch. You need to buy it. You need to buy it now. You need to buy it now. Go to the link in the description down below. Okay, go to the link down in the description below. Hit the merch. Okay, I have a limited time code. Don't tell anybody. It's first drop. You heard me. First drop. FIRSTDROP for a limited percentage off of your next purchase. Okay, please give me your money. Give me your money. It's very important. Okay, my editors are fucking expensive, and I can't keep containing them in the basement anymore, man. It's dangerous stuff out here.
私の名はキラヨシカゲ。年齢33歳
And also, for some reason, if you don't want any of the merch that I have on my site, go to animeexpress.com. Use my code DAFFY10, that is DAFFY10 for 10% off your next purchase. Okay, bye. So before talking about the actual last chapter or the official ending of Jujutsu Kaisen, when we look at Shinjuku as a whole, there's a lot of good things that were in there. I think there were a lot of good character moments that were scattered across that I do think made up for a lack of interactions that we definitely needed beforehand. A lot of people complained that once Gojo died, there's all this insane Gojo cope that, oh my god, he's coming back in 5 chapters! His comeback's real! His comeback's real! And people were trying to say that, oh, Gojo's finally out of the story. Oh my god, the story's going to shit. But Gege, throughout Shinjuku, he had Gojo in 5 or 6 different flashbacks. He was still involved with the story, and we had a lot of these interactions that we were missing, specifically when he was talking to Yuji and Yuta. We see a little more of his passive teaching style whenever he's talking to Yuta about how sloppy Yuta's curse energy manipulation is, and how Yuta's a strong kid, but he's sloppy, and he's obviously giving him more shit than he does the other kids because he knows he can handle it. We were missing that. We see him talking to Miguel in Africa. And while yes, it was goofy, it was necessary to see because we know he went to Africa at the end of Zero, and we know he went and scooped Yuta up, but then people were wondering, where the hell did Miguel get this information to come here from? Did he get it from Yuta? Did he get it from Gojo? Who knows? And by the end of the story, we have this absolutely beautiful interaction with Yuji and Gojo, where Yuji is talking to Gojo, and he says, Sensei, I was hoping I could do my switch training with you. And Gojo says, that'd be cool and fine and all, but hasn't the world had enough of Gojo Satoru? Bringing it back from the point that Geto was talking to Gojo about, where he says, are you Gojo because you're the strongest, or are you strongest because you're Gojo? So Gojo, at the end of his life, quote unquote, he had a feeling he was gonna die. He, on the off chance that he was going to lose this fight, in his personal opinion, he was like, you know what? I want you kids to be stronger than me. I want you kids to actually have a life. Gojo, all throughout his life, was this weapon of mass destruction produced by Jujutsu Society. His very birth shaped how curses and sorcerers moved. People move differently because he was born. That is a lot of pressure for one person, an insane and inhuman amount. And while yes, he has this cocky demeanor and he acts like it doesn't affect him sometimes, it does affect him. And he doesn't want any of his students to fear this. He wants them to be strong, but he doesn't want them to have the same expectations as he does. Yes, he has hopes and dreams for them, but he doesn't want this soul-crushing pressure on. He wants them to be teenagers, to be kids, to have fun. And he really didn't get to do any of that. Now, yes, you can look at the ending of season 2 where he's goofing off with Shoko and Geto and Nanami and all this stuff, but he was not, for the most part, alone-ish. And I say ish. His best friend was Geto, but Sukuna, when it comes to strength and how people view him, Sukuna was the closest person he ever had. Gojo was never pushed as hard as he was until he fought Sukuna. With Toji, it's different because, you know, he had to sneak a 16-year-old because he's pussy. I'm not sorry for that comment. The Toji Glaciers could come get me. I don't give a fuck at this point. So I do like Gojo's role in the story, but now when we take it to Yuji, the main protagonist of the series, I've explained multiple times over, I disdain his absence in the Culling games because I really like Yuji as protagonist, especially coming off of the heat of Shibuya and his I'm you speech with Mahito and how he changed his worldview and he has this view of, you know, he's a cog. He's just part of this grand machine in Jujutsu society so he can do what he wants to do to, you know, help people. He doesn't see himself as the chosen one or anything like that. He just wants to do what he can to save as many people as he possibly can do before he dies, and that's it. Yuji doesn't have grand plans to be the strongest or anything like that, and I think a lot of people, for some reason, have this opinion that Megumi wants to be the strongest too. Megumi has the potential to, but he's never had the will to. People don't understand this. When they say, oh, he's potential, man, he can be as strong as Gojo, he can be as strong as Sukuna, what has he wanted to do since the beginning of the story? He's wanted to help people, he's wanted to save his sister. He doesn't have these grand dreams of being the head of the Zenin clan or anything like that. When he was the head of the Zenin clan for like a week, he didn't really give a fuck. So when I have Yuji at the forefront on the tail end of Shinjuku, I'm enthralled. I love it. I love him and Sukuna have had this beef, this rivalry since the beginning of the series. Well, I say beef, I mean Sukuna's ancient ass is beefing with a preteen at this point. But it's a one-sided hatred, but you know what I mean. Yuji's not a preteen, he's a 16-year-old. I misspoke, shut up. But finally having Yuji and Sukuna face off is so cathartic, especially when we lead with this idea that the reason Sukuna hates Yuji so much is because he is the one thing he cannot consume. Go ahead and watch my video on the all-consuming hunger of Sukuna because thematically JJK deals with a lot of symbolism when it comes to Sukuna's hunger. Obviously you have his techniques, you have cleave, you have dismantle, you have the imagery with the two knives. You also have Uga, which is a literal oven, right? You're cooking something or preparing to cook something. We have the fact that he's a cannibal, right? And so he wants to consume people metaphorically and literally. And so when he thinks to himself, when he's sitting there lost in thought, crossing his arms, he's like, why does this kid bug me so much? It's because Yuji doesn't fear him. Yuji fears what Sukuna can do to him, but Yuji doesn't fear Sukuna. He hates him. Most people, most of the cast fear Sukuna. And obviously too, I'd be scared shitless. Bro, that nigga is 6'9", 6'8", and like 350 pounds. I'm good. He's like 2 inches smaller than Broly, than Dragon Ball Z Broly. I'm okay. I'm good. Listen, I'm a Sukuna stan, but hey brother, you got it. So we finally have Yuji getting his lick back against Sukuna, and the fight choreography obviously is Jujutsu Kaisen. So fight choreography has always been a very strong part of the series, but actually seeing Yuji lay hands on this nigga Sukuna, ooh, y'all been hearing me in my chapter reviews. I was getting hype, I was excited, I was loving it. Bro, when Yuji hit them 8 or 7 consecutive black flashes on Sukuna, your boy was wild. Editor, play the clip, bro. And Yuji takes his hand, brings it from the pits of Tartarus, and Beelzebub's palace hits him with the Kokusang! Just right up in that gut. Just, oh my god, bro. Y'all need to understand how hype I am, bro. Oh yeah, I was feeling that. Yes. This has been over 250 chapters in the making. I've been waiting on this here. And then we have Yuji's domain expansion, which a lot of people, including myself, have been waiting on. A lot of people wanted to see Yuji gain his main character status. They wanted to see Yuji finally claim his title as the main character of Jujutsu Kaisen, because a lot of people, for some fucking reason, had this idea that Gojo was the main character, but no, it's been very clear since the first chapter of the story, that's not where the story is going at all. But Yuji finally revealing his domain expansion, and we are taken aback because you would think that, oh, it's going to be a boxing ring, for as corny as that would be, or be something hyper violent, but it wasn't like that. Yuji's domain actually had him and Sukuna's souls speaking to each other. Similar to how Jogo was speaking to Sukuna in the afterlife, their souls could directly talk to each other. It's almost like they had this bond or but you know how like back in the day when you had your DS, you had the chat rooms in the DS, and like if you were close enough with another person, you could like talk to each other through the DS without Wi-Fi. It was just like the two DSs talking to each other. It was like that. Damn, Unc, I grew up with a PlayStation Vita. None of you niggas grew up with a PlayStation Vita. Damn, that's even worse. But having Yuji actually walk Sukuna through these memories of his childhood and him trying to relate, trying to sit Sukuna down and talk to him like a human being for the first time in his life, because all throughout the story people have feared Sukuna, his name and all this kind of stuff. He was literally named after a religious deity. Ryomen Sukuna is not his real name, that's what people called him. Like, he was that feared. People don't even know his original name. I don't even know if Sukuna knows his original name either. I mean, maybe. Well, I mean, he would have to. He remembers eating his brother in the womb, so I would hope he knows. But we have Yuji try to appeal to Sukuna's human nature, or what he thinks is anything left in there, and Sukuna gets angry. He gets viscerally mad and enraged, and he says, "Are you trying to pity me?" Sukuna saying, "I will tear you asunder, and after I finish ripping your flesh from your bones, I will kill every single person that is close to you." Like, dude, I love that. Because you've never seen Sukuna angry. Like, he's been annoyed, he's been like in fear of his life, but actually angry, like sheer hatred, we haven't seen Sukuna that angry ever. So that was extremely fulfilling for me, especially as an audience member, because Yuji is a kind kid. That's just the kind of kid he is. He's not, now, is he Tanjiro levels of kind? I mean, no, but they're still good kids at the end of the day. And we have this great subversion of tropes where Yuji is talking to Megumi's soul, and he says, "I'm gonna miss you." And he says, throughout all these things, you know, and how I grew up, I can never understand how someone would want to, you know, be euthanized or anything like that. It's a completely foreign concept to Yuji. So he tells Megumi, "I can't tell you how to live. I can't tell you if you want the will to live or not, but I'm going to do what I can." And Yuji had the resolve to kill Sukuna and Megumi. Now, obviously, did he want to? No. But I love it because, like, if this was Naruto, for example, Naruto would not have stopped at any point to rescue Sasuke. That was his goal from the very beginning of the manga. Don't get it twisted. Naruto acknowledged how much pain and suffering Sasuke had gone through, but he still wanted to be there as his friend and bring him back. People have this weird opinion that Naruto just didn't know and didn't care. No, he acknowledged just how trash both of their childhoods were. He acknowledged how lonely the both of them were. So for Yuji to sit there and actually have this big moment and say, "If you want to die, that's it. Okay, I'm gonna do what I can." That's huge. I love that. JJK is very non-traditional and sometimes to its own detriment. But here, I think it worked very well. Now, do I love Nobara's return? Do I love Toto's return? No, I don't really like either of them. Nobara, listen, I guessed that she might be coming back at the very end of the manga, but we had gotten so far into this last fight that I was like, okay, there's no way that she's coming back. There's no way. Even though it was seeded, it just felt like something Gege was leaving on the back burner if he wanted to do it. And then it actually happened. I was like, damn, dude, like, we had all this time without her, and she's been gone for more than half of the manga? Come on, dude. Same thing with Toto. We never got to see him react to Yuki's death. We never got to see him in his process of recovery, thinking about the Culling games and all these kind of things. Toto was a fan favorite character. Gege knows this. Everybody knows it. I would want to see Toto's thoughts and him interact with all these characters. Toto's a zany, wild character. Why would I not want to see it? So that's one of the frustrations that I do have. But then when we come to Sukuna's conclusion, when we come to his death, when he is expelled from Megumi's body and he's just that, you know, that slime, just this disgusting mass on the floor. I love this because Sukuna, and I've said this before, Sukuna's a handsome guy. Like, you ignore the second pair of arms and like the armor scaling on his face. He's a handsome guy, right? Good looking. You saw him saying probably goes to the gym, gets all his protein, counts his macros, all that. But to have him as ugly as he is on the outside, finally, as he is on the inside, that works for me. And him begging Megumi for his life. He didn't outright say it. He was trying to manipulate him, and he was trying to get Megumi to give it up of his own volition, but Megumi refused. Sukuna actually having this dwarf in the flask-esque like demise. I did appreciate that. And Yuji actually coming over to Sukuna, looking down on him. If you remember, I believe it was chapter 9 or chapter 10 of Jujutsu Kaisen when Sukuna and Yuji are talking in Sukuna's innate domain. He says, "Don't look up at me, it's unsightly." We have the reversion of that, and Yuji's just looking down with Sukuna with pity. No one has looked at Sukuna with pity before. No one has thought, what has this guy gone through to become this way? People just see all of his evil actions and things like that. And Yuji actually picking Sukuna up gently and saying, "I'll be the one to live with you." That stings. That really stings for Sukuna. And now on his death, he says, "Don't forget, I'm still a curse. I commend you for keeping up the charade." And then we have Sukuna in Purgatory, or the Hallway of Souls, or whatever this is. And Mahito appears, which I really like. Mahito appearing because he came from the fear of humans, and so people feared Sukuna. And so that made him what he is today. And Mahito comes and he says, "You want revenge because they cursed and spat upon that little boy so long ago." And Sukuna says, "Doesn't matter. I did what I wanted to do. The outcome's the same." But maybe that was the wrong path. Maybe. Sukuna isn't going to live a life of righteousness and virtue or anything like that if he gets the chance to be reincarnated. That's not what he's saying. He is going to choose a life of peace. He's going to do what he wants to do. But he's thinking maybe holding on to all this in my gut. I believe he used the word, all this viscera that he contained in his stomach is the translation. I don't remember off the top of my head, but holding on to this, it was poisonous. Gege has a tendency to write very poetically, and I like it. Sometimes it's a little vague, sometimes it misses, but here I think it worked. For Sukuna, holding on to all this hatred for everyone, it was toxic, and he was thinking to himself, maybe I'm better off leaving it alone. Maybe. And we see him put a hand on a young Uraume, not in a way of manipulation or, leading them along, but in a nurturing kind way, almost a parental way. And he says, "After all, I lost. Of course I'm going to change my view." Because we know Sukuna thinks that strength is everything. He has stated this multiple times over again and again and again. So Sukuna, if he were to be defeated, he isn't the type to throw a tantrum or anything like that. The only reason he threw a tantrum with Yuji is because it was Yuji. That's why. Because Yuji bugs him. If he were to die from Gojo's hands, GG's, bro. Good game. Sukuna outright told Yorozu, I've said this again, Sukuna outright told Yorozu, "If I die, you can do whatever with my body. That's fine." But I absolutely love Sukuna's conclusion here, man. And I'm not gonna lie, it made your boy tear up something fierce when I was reading it, man. When this hits in the anime, when they give me a good orchestral score or something like that, oh, buddy, that's gonna hit. Yeah. So we have this fantastic conclusion to Sukuna. And then when we come to the final chapters, we have Megumi, Nobara, and Yuji, as well as the rest of the Jujutsu Kaisen cast. They are now living their lives. We have Higuruma possibly being a teacher and working for Jujutsu Tech. We have Nobara, Yuji, and Megumi going on missions again. We have Yuta in his body. Now he is, it was soft confirmed, but he has his relationship with Mai. He actually gets to live his life. He's not as much of this gloomy kid that he used to be. And so a lot of these characters get their happy ending. For some reason, it's referred to as a Disney ending. I don't know where this came from, this whole Disney Kaisen shit, because a lot of shonen, none of them have like endings where most of the cast dies. My Hero, Bleach, Naruto, all of these have at least 1 or 2 deaths maximum. Maybe 3, maybe 3. But the whole cast is not getting wiped out. There is nothing wrong with the happy ending. There's not. So for Yuji to actually be able to live his life, live a good death that his grandfather was telling him to do, this is a perfect ending for Yuji. I like this. Are some people going to be a little upset that Yuji didn't use ooh, yeah. Yeah. Are some people dumb and don't understand what Yuji's domain does? Yes. yes. Dude, people fucking... People still ask what Yuji's domain does. Like they didn't see the word dismantle pop up on the page and Yuji rush up to Sukuna's head and knee him. Yuji before had to use cleave on the soul. He didn't have dismantle. In his domain expansion, he has dismantle on the soul. And he can speak to a soul one-on-one. That's what his domain does. Oh, it's acute soul damage. Come on. Learn how to read, y'all. But overall, I will say that I do think that Jujutsu Kaisen had a good ending. Was it great? I don't necessarily think so. Well, there's some things that I think we definitely could have gone into, especially with Kenjaku, his relation to Yuji, his thoughts on Yuji. We know that, yeah, Kenjaku, he didn't really care about Yuji, but then it was also a retcon later, and he said as long as Sukuna and Yuji exist, they are the eye of the storm. So I would have wanted to see Kenjaku's thoughts on Shinjuku Yuji. Shinjuku Yuji is a monster. He's a beast. He's the culmination of a lot of Kenjaku's research. I would love to know what his thoughts were. I do think that Kenjaku's death was fumbled. Now, I say his death, quote unquote, but he's also being held prisoner by Takuba through his technique. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, is that Geto? It's probably Geto. It's not fucking Geto. Geto is not the type of person that would roll with Takuba for a fucking comedy routine. Stop it. But yes, for all intents and purposes, I mean, Kenjaku is dead, quote unquote. So, I mean, we know that Takuba can just spawn in people. He spawned in policemen. He spawned in a whole hospital, like all this shit. Takuba's got Toon Force, so it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, I mean, I am definitely one of the people that wanted to see the merger, but the problem is that the merger would have killed everybody. I think Gege did the right thing by showing us a possibility, but the merger always was the end game. And I think that there could have been a couple of things that Gege could have done to make it very apparent that, hey, Sukuna's the end boss, like the end finale, and that the merger absolutely cannot happen whatsoever. Again, I know that was the whole point of the Culling games, but it definitely did feel like we were just on that road, especially when Sukuna ate Tengen. So I feel like there were some things that definitely could have been done better. But overall, I do think that Jujutsu Kaisen had a good ending, man. I do. As unpopular as that is, I like it. And if you are soured because you think that some characters should have died, no, we had 3 deaths in Shinjuku Shodown. We had Gojo, the most popular character in this series by a long shot. We had Choso, the brother to Yuji, who I think that Choso has the best death in the series, and I'll still stand on that. And then we have Kashimo. Now, does anybody really give a fuck about Kashimo dying? I mean, they were making femboy memes about Kashimo like a week after he died, so no, not really. But they called that nigga the waffled one. So it's not like Shinjuku was just consequence free. I mean, hell, Yuji lost 2 of his fingers. I mean, he can still fight, obviously, but that's still, I mean, losing 2 of your fingers, that's intense, man. And also, every single person in Jujutsu Tech now has scars. I think it's pretty cool. Well, everybody except, you know, Kirara, Panda, Toge, all them niggas that don't matter. They who cares about them? But I think that this is a good bookend to this story, man. I'm gonna miss Jujutsu Kaisen, and if Gege, you know, makes a part 2 or anything like that with a totally different cast, I would love to see it. But the problem is that I don't necessarily think that we're gonna have that. I mean, Sukuna from the first chapter is always gonna be the final villain of the story. First chapter of the manga is called Ryomen Sukuna. So what other threat would there be besides like maybe countries, like going to America? But it doesn't seem feasible to me, and I don't think Gege would be able to swing it personally. But that's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you guys think about the Jujutsu Kaisen ending. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Let me know, I'm curious. Anyway, guys, me and boy Daffy, guys, thank you guys so much for joining me on this video. Please make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Y'all make sure you take care of yourself, guys, and have a good one. Peace.